Our business totally collapsed. I got divorced.
I don't feel safe when I go out or sleep at night.
So it's like the released political prisoners are going from small prisons to bigger prisons.
Life in Myanmar's jails is reported to be overcrowded and boring at best, abusive and inhumane at worst. Analysts say many political prisoners are likely to develop post-traumatic stress disorder. In this vulnerable state, they might leave jail only to find they're shunned by society and have lost jobs, friends, or even partners. Hello and welcome to Do Athan, a weekly podcast that brings you human rights stories from Myanmar. It's brought to you by Fondation Hirondelle. This episode is produced by Frontier Myanmar journalists. Names may have been changed to protect contributors.
When people are released from prison, Myanmar people might look down on them, no matter why they were locked up. I'm also a former inmate. I lost my job and got into many difficulties. I also lost my friends because of prison. I lost contact with them. At times like these, you really start to see who has similar values and who is there for you.
Ma Shui Yi used to be a teacher at a private school, and her husband was a civil servant. When the military staged a coup in February 2021, they both posted their opposition on social media. Some months later, they were arrested and sentenced under the new 505A section of the Penal Code for allegedly spreading false news. They had to leave their 1-year-old baby with relatives. Ma Shui Yi was given an early release after 18 months, but the experience has turned her life upside down. The managers at her private school were concerned that rehiring her might bring unwanted attention from the authorities. Ma Shui Yi loved teaching and had never thought of doing anything else. But now she's having to sell goods at a street stall just to make some income. And she has no one to talk to about her problems.
Sometimes I just feel so angry. I cannot speak openly about what I'm feeling. I have no one to talk or discuss this with. My so-called friends find it difficult to communicate with me. They don't want to contact me, so I'm having to solve all the problems by myself, and I'm full of frustration.
Dr. Aaron provides psychosocial support and counselling to war refugees, IDPs, political prisoners and revolutionaries. He's noticed that people who have managed to escape from the military, including political prisoners, often suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. He advises everyone in this situation to speak to a counsellor or psychologist.
The post-traumatic stress disorder
Post-traumatic stress disorder is not managed well. It can lead to serious consequences like alcohol or drug abuse. People may also struggle to reintegrate into society. There may be difficulties in relationships with the family or at the workplace or with friends.
Gone Aung lost both his business and his marriage after he was imprisoned. He was arrested in 2021 and, like Ma Shui Yi, he was charged under Section 505A for a social media post. He was released just a few months ago.
Our business totally collapsed. I got divorced. My wife is a civil servant. When I was released, she asked for a divorce, saying that living with me would put her job at risk, as I was a former political prisoner. I had no choice but to agree to it. My marriage fell apart.
Thanks to the recommendation of a friend, he got a job in the telecommunications sector. He's determined to rebuild his life, but he's angry about what he's lost, simply for speaking out.
We're not guilty, even though we protested. He staged an unfair coup, and we just demanded our rights. We're not the ones who are really guilty. We didn't do anything wrong by protesting. We demanded our freedom.
Since the coup, more than 24,000 people have been detained across the country for their opposition, according to the Assistance Association for Political Prisoners, or AAPP. Latest figures suggest over 19,400 people are still in detention. Gotu Wai is the founder of Eat My Heart, an organisation dedicated to sending care packages to political prisoners and providing support for the well-being and healthcare of their families. He says many arrests have disrupted and impoverished families, and he says when prisoners are released, they're not usually welcomed by society.
Most
of the people who took part in the protests were the working poor. During the early days of the revolution, when people were protesting peacefully, they ended up in prisons. When they were released, they faced problems finding employment. Factories refused to accept them. It's like they're blacklisted. As a result, many of them have had to become street vendors or casual labourers. That's terrible.
The AAPP says the current regime is like past military dictators in the way it treats political prisoners. A spokesperson for AAPP says that means released prisoners still live in fear and they find it extremely difficult to reintegrate into society.
The military rearrests political prisoners if the situation changes. Some have even been rearrested at the prison gate on the day they were released under an amnesty. So it's like the released political prisoners are going from small prisons to bigger prisons. The situation doesn't allow them to get on their feet again.
He may be free from prison, but Gone Aung says he feels restricted since his release. For example, if he wants to go downtown, he doesn't dare go through police checkpoints. He just turns round. And he doesn't feel safe in his own home.
They are monitoring how we are living in this ward. I can't breathe freely. In the days after my release, they even entered my house to check. I'm still haunted by the fear of getting arrested again. Even when I step outside, I can't shake off this sense of paranoia. I always think that I might be arrested. I can't enjoy my meals or sleep soundly. It's a 24/7 ordeal.
It's the same for Ma Shui-yi.
I don't feel safe when I go out or sleep at night. Even when I hear a motorbike or a car passing by my apartment, I feel paranoid. I can't help but wonder if they're coming to arrest me again or if they're monitoring my activities. I'm not at ease even when I'm using the internet on my phone.
Ma Shui-yi even moved to a new area because she didn't know if she could trust her neighbours. But she's still anxious. She also says that her purpose in life was destroyed after she was imprisoned because she can no longer teach. But she says despite all this, she doesn't have regrets.
I lost almost everything, my job, my friends, and money. But I don't have regrets. I know people who have lost more than me in this revolution. What I lost was nothing compared to their loss.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Do A Than. We would welcome your feedback on social media. This project on human rights reporting is supported by Fondation Hirondelle with the help of our donors. You can listen to our podcast via the Do A Than Facebook page. They can also be found on SoundCloud, YouTube and iTunes. You can also listen every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. and Sunday morning from 6 to 7 a.m. on Voice of America Radio. Please tune in again next week.